Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him sing. All they wanna say. Let him lay me traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him sing. All they wanna say. Let him lay me traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let I be me instead of playing games. For chasing fame, let somebody spread the lack of flames. No, living my life to the fullest and shout out my halala to the fullest. Let my lungs out. I'm still rising up to greater heights.
Hello, Ponjus and Bonani. Welcome to Rise to Greater Heights Network, where you can turn your fears into greater success while seizing new opportunities. It is so significant to have a positive mindset, more especially under these circumstances. So this network has the potential to completely revolutionize every aspect of your life and career. My name is Nompumelelo Rial Kunene, and I'm going to be your host for today. So if you're watching us online, please feel free to put in the chat box where you're watching us from and what you hope to achieve from our podcast. Today, we are surrounded by greatness in the World Wide Web. We have amazing speakers who's going to share some nuggets on how to really rise to greater heights. In North Carolina, we have Sylvia Rodriguez. And in Florida, we have Kim Hawkinson. So at this moment, I will just let our speakers to introduce themselves. So you can go ahead, Sylvia.
Hi, Rio. Thank you for having me here. I'm so very happy. I'm going to start. I'm not sure if the introduction went out to talk a little bit about myself. I don't really do me justice, so I'm going to skip the normal introductions and I'm going to share a couple things really, really quickly here. So when I was a child, I remember telling my mom I wanted to buy a house for her. And when at my mid 30s, I was able to accomplish that. When I was when I was a young adult, I also said I wanted to have a business, not just any business, but a family business. And here I am at 43 with a family business. And one of the reasons why I decided to share these couple of stories is because they're linked together. And we're also talking about rising to greatness, right? So one of the reasons why they both happened is because of God, first and foremost. But the second reason is there's a link between them, and it was my sister who actually supported me to get to the point where I'm at in both situations. And not only did she just support me, but she also held me accountable. And accountability is one of those topics that I'm going to be talking about today. So I wanted to share that. I wanted to give you guys hope. These dreams didn't happen until later in my career, 20 years, 25 years later. But don't lose hope, right? So I just wanted to share that. You're muted.
I always forget. I'm like talking. Yeah, that's so amazing. So now we can see that we have an accountability partner here in Sylvia. So go ahead, Kim, introduce yourself.
I'm afraid I'm going to do the exact same thing. You're not alone. And Sylvia, that is just absolutely spectacular. Oh my goodness. Hi, everybody. My name is Kim, and I've owned my own dog training business for 8 years. The reason I really think that I got into dog training was because, everybody likes dogs. But there's such a human component to it, right? When we have dogs, it's not just us taking care of ourselves, we're caring for somebody else. And when something goes wrong, our dog maybe starts going absolutely ballistic at someone outside the door, or they hear the doorbell and they're just, and they go crazy. Or worse, maybe they're really scared, or maybe they get super anxious. and they start shaking and, all the bad stuff that goes along with that. And we sit there and we're helpless. We feel helpless. We feel scared. We feel frustrated. We feel mad. We feel guilty. We have all these negative things going on. But there's an answer. And that's what I help people with, finding a way to break that communication barrier with our dogs and change those neural pathways in their mind to help them cope with the world around them. Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh, wow. I love that. Being a dog lover, I'm looking forward to hear from you, Kim. So at this moment, Sylvia, I have a question for you. If you happen to have your own billboard, I can see your billboard coming down there in the busy, busy highway of North Carolina. What will your billboard say?
Let's see, if I had a billboard, it'd have to say, "The prodigal daughter has returned home." Smiley face. That's it.
I love that. How about you, Kim? I can see your billboard coming down there in the busy highway of Florida. Maybe it's already there about dogs. I don't know. What will your billboard say?
Well, sarcasm is a way of life in our house. I'm very sarcastic, and I tend to be a bit snarky. So if I had a billboard, it would probably be a dog with a Scooby-Doo head in the center, and around it would be a couple phrases like, are you tired of your dog being a butthead? Are you ready to expect more from your dog? Do you want a better relationship with your dog? And those would be up top, and underneath, I got you.
I love that. I think my billboard will be the third one in the busy, busy highway saying rise to greater heights. I believe so. So all of our billboards are coming up in busy highways, we believe, right? So our first speaker for today, it's going to be Sylvia Rodriguez. Sylvia Rodriguez is a bilingual motivational speaker and eternal optimist whose goal is to inspire everyone she interacts with. Sylvia believes we are all valuable, critical members of society who must continually improve in order to outsmart ourselves. Sylvia has worked as a project management professional for over 20 years, inspiring cross-cultural, cross-functional teams to achieve personal, project, and company goals throughout the globe. She personally mentors young adults, helping them overcome their fears, storm their negative habits, think creatively, and execute relentlessly. Sylvia is a certified Power Voice speaker from the Les Brown Academy and project management professional, PMP. She is a mentor coach for NCPMI and a member of the North Carolina Project Leaders Toastmasters Club. Sylvia holds a Bachelor of Science degree in project management and has completed for Proctor's Thinking into Results 6-month program. So kings and queens, please join me and welcome Sylvia Rodriguez.
Thank you, Rio. Today, I'm going to talk about accountability, as I said earlier. Accountability is a topic that is very near and dear to me. And as I was telling the ladies before we started here, this can go in so many different ways. But ultimately, one of the things that I've noticed throughout my career and just in life in general, with our communities, with our families, I've noticed that a lot of the times we truly don't understand what accountability really means. I think we get a little bit confused with it. And then when you start throwing in words like responsibility, it gets even more confusing. Who's accountable and who's responsible for what? So why don't we do this? Let me give you a few scenarios and see where you stand as it relates to knowing the difference between accountability and responsibility. So I'll give you 3 scenarios and you can put it in the chat or just kind of think about it, write it down, just put some thoughts together and see if you understand who in these scenarios should be accountable and who should be held responsible. So scenario number 1, an 8-year-old kid didn't turn in his homework. Who is accountable for the kid's homework and who is responsible for that homework? Remember, it's an 8-year-old child. All right, think about it a little bit, write it down. I'll give you this next scenario. You ordered something at Amazon. They delivered late. As a customer, who do you hold accountable? And who do you hold responsible for delivering late? If you're like me, I'm thinking about so many different questions about that, right? Because was it the driver? I'm starting to blame, right? I'm starting to maybe hear the excuses of the folks. Maybe I'm thinking it was the shipping department, or maybe I put in the wrong the wrong order in. So just think about it a little bit and think about it as a customer or as a manager or somebody who works there. Who was responsible and who was accountable for the late delivery? Let me give you one last scenario, a third scenario. And that third scenario is you go to McDonald's, you go through the drive-through, you place your order. Let's assume you placed it right. You get to the drive-through, take your order, go home, and oh my goodness, you got the wrong thing. Who is responsible for giving you that order incorrectly and who's accountable? In your mind as a customer, if you wanted to go back and get your order replaced, who would you hold accountable and who would you hold responsible? I have a very short story. And again, I'm trying to make this short because we don't have that much time. But this short story is one of my nieces was working at McDonald's and a customer didn't get their order correct. And it was the drive-through. And he actually threw the food back at her because it was incorrect. Of course, that customer has other issues we won't get into, right? But was that customer holding my niece accountable for getting that order wrong? And so we have to think about this accountability versus responsibility. And in fact, when I looked up accountability and responsibility in Spanish, because I was curious, I'm bilingual, I speak Spanish, but I could not come up with a word that defines accountability in Spanish. In fact, both words translate to the same word, and in Spanish is responsibility, responsabilidad. So it gets even more confusing, right? So we need to understand what it means, there's the difference between accountability and responsibility. So let me take you back. Now, if you could have answered in so many different ways, but the one thing I want to make sure is that we at least go away knowing what accountability and responsibility is, right? So accountability is taking ownership of the results. So when you think about any situation going on at home, in your community, at work, who is accountable? Is it and who sets that accountability? Do we have to hold ourselves accountable, or does somebody give us that accountability? It starts getting even more complicated if you notice, right? So accountability is owning results. Responsibility is more related to the task itself. So if we go back to the example of the child not turning in their homework, that child is 8 years old. The child is responsible for the task of doing the homework. The parents in that situation are accountable for the child turning in their homework. Very simple, but it starts getting more complicated. And so just know that accountability is much more complex than what we think it is. It's different than responsibility. It's also something we can own. And it starts with us, right? We're talking about rising here to greater heights. So one of the things that I want to make sure you take away is that it does start with us. And accountability gone wrong can create a lot of chaos and stress. So somebody throwing things at the McDonald's employee is not a good thing, right? So people are stressed, people are unhappy. So it creates chaos and stress if accountability goes wrong. Accountability gone right looks very different. It creates a completely a ripple effect that reduces the stress and happier people. But the things that we have to know and remember is it's different than responsibility. We have to know, we want to know who's accountable and who's responsible way in advance before bad things happen, bad or good things happen, right? So we want to know who's accountable, who's responsible at the very beginning of taking on a challenge, taking on an event, taking on whatever situation. And then understanding that it can go well, things can go well, things can go bad. If it goes well, hopefully it's because folks took ownership and they are holding themselves accountable. If it's gone badly, then we want to make sure that we go back and look at the situation, understand, do we even know who's responsible and accountable for these things, right? Sometimes it's just because we don't know. And the last takeaway is just make sure that you understand that it lies in yourself. We want to hold ourselves accountable first and foremost. And if we can pin that down, then we can start helping others hold themselves accountable. We can help. As a project manager, I typically do that with managers and help them help their people become more accountable at work. And it just becomes a better environment for sure. Rio, this was a very short time. I'm hoping I did a little bit of justice to the topic. I think you're going to open it up for questions at some point, so I'm hoping we can answer more questions after.
Oh, Sylvia, this is a much needed topic, really. And I know it's quite broad, like you've mentioned, that you really don't know where to start, because you can start from this angle to the next, but hey, you've just nailed it. You've shared what is really needed today. And you've mentioned that highly accountable individuals can have a positive impact in a workplace, at home, anywhere. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sylvia, for sharing such a much needed message. You know what stood out the most on me is that when we hold ourselves accountable, we meet our commitments. And that is so true. And you've also continued that we also build trust through being accountable. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you so much, Sylvia, for sharing this message. So our next speaker, we are going in the sunny Florida right now. We're going to Kim. Kim Hawkinson is a wife.
Yes.
She's a wife, a mom to 3 amazing girls and 1 hot mess canine. After going to college to learn how to become a marine biologist, she got an internship at Sea Life Park on Oahu in Hawaii. I hope I've said it right. Hawaii, where she learned the principles of communication and training working with marine mammals. Fast forward 13 years after she started her own dog training business, her primary focus is now on helping humans with their dog companions in order for them to learn how to effectively listen and cope with the world around them. So kings and queens, please join me and welcome Kim Hawkinson.
Rael, that was such an amazing introduction. I love the kings and queens, yes. So first I wanted to talk about why we have the affinity for dogs that we do. I think there's a stigma behind dogs. They absolutely are man's best friends. Our dogs probably love us more than they love themselves. And I think it's the cuteness, the furriness, but it's also taking care of somebody, right? And so all of those things together, along with our past memories or our past experiences with dogs. Yeah. When everybody who has had a dog when they are growing up as a kid, oh, I had the best, somebody be talking about something completely random and it sparks a memory. And you're like, I remember my dog. They used to run with me outside down the street. We all used to play ball and it was just the most amazing time. Right. And they make us feel good. And I'm going to say it almost in a way that other humans can't sometimes, right? And that's not the human's fault, not the dog's fault. No one's doing it. It's just a special relationship. But sometimes those relationships don't go exactly how we want them to. And I think one of the main things that a lot of people don't take into account when they're getting dogs is that dogs are non-speaking. They are non-communicative in the way that we humans are. And so they're not thinking of the dog as a dog. They're thinking of the dog as a person. And the thing is that both are correct. Because when we introduce a dog to our home, they're absolutely a member of our family. I am the biggest advocate for my dog, and don't you dare cross that line, right? Like Mama Bear, right? But then they're also a dog. They're a different species. So the things that dogs need, they need that leadership. All right. They do need a job. Y'all, even if you got a teacup, something, they still need a little bit of a job, even if it's just keeping you company at a certain time of the day. Right. So one of the things that people often do is we bring a dog into our home and we want to give them everything. We want them to be comfortable. We want them to know that they are loved and that they are safe and taken care of. So what we do is we give them everything. Well, for a dog, they didn't have to do anything to earn those amazing things. So we tend to inadvertently create dogs who expect things. They can be a bit demanding at times. They can be a little bougie at times. And anybody who has had this happen, do me a favor, put it down in the chat. I want people to know that they are not alone. Okay. And it's not your fault. It's okay, because that's what we do as humans. We have big hearts. But to fix that, we need to change what we're doing. And it's never, ever to say that you can't give your dog everything that you want them to have, but they have to earn it. That is how they learn how to respect you. Okay. So one of the very first things that I have all my clients do is create these 4 words. And with these 4 words, you're able to guide your dog through what you want them to be able to understand, whether it's just sit, I need your rear on the floor, or stay, I need you to stay in one place until I tell you you can leave. Very simple. The first is the reward word. And this tells our dog, yes, you're doing everything right. Keep doing that. Right. So every single time they do something right, and there's a caveat to that, and I'll hit it at the end. But every single time they do something right, yes, the reward word. And it could be the word spoon if you want it to, as long as you use it consistently. So spoon, and then they get a reward. You ask them to sit again, they do it again, spoon, and they get a reward. Okay, we get the gist. The second word is the negative marker. With the negative marker, we're telling our dog that doesn't work for me, and that is not going to get you the good stuff. That is not going to get you a reward. Okay, now some people don't like telling their dog no. There are some trainers out there that are purely positive and refuse to use the word no. My opinion on the topic is that when you use that word no, you create a thinking dog. Well, if that isn't going to work for me, what can I do to get that reward? Your dog is now thinking. Your dog is now problem solving. Your dog is now trying to figure things out. How huge is that? It's not a robot, but your dog is actually thinking about things. That's amazing, right? Come on, hit me up in the chat. Like, let me know how amazing that is. The next word is the reinforcing word. And I really didn't think about this when I first learned how to train animals, but the reinforcing word says, you know what? You're doing a fantastic job. Keep going. We're almost there. We're almost there. We're almost there. Spoon. And they get the reward word. Okay. But that reinforcing word allows you to elaborate on the behaviors that your dog is doing. Okay. And the last word is the release word. And you guys, I did not think about this word at all when I first started training. And here's why the release word is so important. Your release word gives your dog an out. Like, you're done doing what we want to do. Rael, I feel like I'm going over. I apologize. We're done. You can go and move amongst the cabin. You're free to do whatever you want to do. And this word is so important because if our dog has the opportunity to say, oh, this is stupid. Why am I still doing this? I'm out. Peace. And they leave. That is your dog making their own rules, and they're not listening to you. Okay. And the whole point is that when we ask our dog to do something, they're going to do it, right? It might stink for them for a couple seconds, but they're still going to do it. And that's what's so important. And then I had, yes. And for, I think, I wrote myself notes. And for the coping, I think that's just so important. And the rules help. The rules help your dog know that there is guidance. Your dog knows that somebody's there to support them and protect them, because no, if they're telling you what to do, they got me. But sometimes we have things that lay outside those parameters, like fireworks and thunderstorms, and maybe a loud noise, right? For those of you who may live in Florida, I live right by Eglin Air Force Base. There's always jets going over top. And sometimes it'll really freak a dog out and they just don't know, right? So being able to help our dog do those things, or be able to go throughout their day without thinking that their life is going to end because they hear or see something scary, that is a gift that we can give them. And that is a gift that you can give yourself, because now you're not feeling guilty. You're not feeling stressed. You're not feeling sad that your dog is stuck in that mental space. Yeah. You're muted again.
I know. I always forget. Kim, oh my goodness, for the love of animals, here you are. You've just shared these much needed nuggets. Being a dog lover, being an animal lover, being a pet lover. You've mentioned that how the relationship that we have with our dogs, it can affect our everyday aspect of our lives, regardless of how big or small they might be. And thank you so much, Kim. Like what I took from this, you've mentioned that when you have effective and clear communication with your dog, you are able to do more to do more with them. So you are both able to experience life the way you want to. And apart from animals, even with human beings, effective communication is key. So thank you, Kim, for sharing such a profound message.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for letting me share that.
Thank you. So our viewers online, please, if you have any questions for any of the speakers today, please feel free to put in the chat box, and then we're going to attend to your questions at the end of the podcast, because these amazing speakers, Sylvia on the other side, she shared on accountability, and Kim on the other side, she shared on relationship with your pet. So if you have any questions for them, please feel free to put in the chat box. We'll attend to your questions at the end of the podcast. So I'm going to be the next speaker. Oh my goodness. Like everything is like fast. I didn't know that 7 minutes can be like, it feels like 3 minutes to me. It feels like 3 minutes, but yeah, I'm going to be the next speaker. So before I actually speak, I'm just going to share my bio with you, and then I will come back and speak.
Non-Pumelelo Rial Kunene is a highly sought-after, energetic, certified Les Brown international speaker. She is the author and host to Rise to Greater Heights, a book and YouTube channel to turn your fears into greater success while seizing new opportunities. Rial is also a coach, mentor, and an MC, well known for encouraging many to rise from mediocrity into greatness. Her vision is not only to motivate, but also to empower audiences with a fresh perspective, inspiration they require to pursue success and drive sustainable outcomes in a seriously funny way. Rial believes that we are in full control of our choices. Her mission is to meet the needs and transform lives of her clients and her audience. Rial's book, Rise to Greater Heights, has inspired and empowered many to pursue their personal and professional passion to become go-getters. Her goal is to study your current situation, identify limiting beliefs, then design a plan of inspired action to empower you to achieve specific outcomes in your life. Rial Kunene wears many hats as a professional certified sales manager, CEO, strategist, certified travel counselor, trainer, esthetician, philanthropist, diplomacy protocol officer, international human rights analyst, and a commissioner for OAS. Following her dreams gave her purpose to see her goals through and understand that she does have everything she needs to reach her full potential. Her everyday message is that your journey to be a better person starts with you. So knowing who you are to your core will make you understand that you are the only one who can accomplish your dreams. Hebrews 11, Psalm 27 and 40. Keep her to rise to greater heights. Kings and queens, please join me. Welcome, Riel Kunene!
Goodness, thank you so much, amazing, because it's going to be hard to feel in your shoes because you've just set the bar high for me. So I will try to feel in your shoes. But before I continue, I just want to double check if I'm in the right platform here. How many of you with the raise of hand can say that, Riel, I have never ever complained in life? Never ever complained in life. Seemingly I'm in the right platform because sometimes in life we'll go complaining about everything. Oh, the weather is really bad today. Traffic was worse than expected. My family drives me crazy sometimes. Oh, the movie was really disappointing. You name it. Though whining can be a way to build an inspiration, it can also keep us from acting, and it gives excuses time to procrastinate from achieving goals. One thing I've realized is that we usually complain in the wake of a negative situation. We tend to focus more on the problem than finding potential solutions. It's always much easier to complain than to find a solution. And individuals who whine on a regular basis, they're up to have a bad health. So next time we'll find you complaining that, why do pizzas come in square boxes? Yet they're round. And funny enough, they are cut in triangles. Does that sound like you? Yeah, please write this down. Write this down. What are human rights? What are human rights? I know Sylvia, she mentioned the most important thing about being accountable for your actions, for everything that you do in life. Sylvia mentioned that when we hold ourselves accountable, we meet our commitments. And when we meet our commitments, we build trust. Trust creates cohesive teams, and cohesive teams creates a culture of productivity and efficiency. On the other side, she came with the love of animals, the love of dogs, relationship with your dogs. She mentioned that setting rules and boundaries is how you're able to get the respect from and build a bond with your dog. It's not only about dogs, it's also about human beings. What kind of bond do you build with other humans? So thank you, Kim, thank you, and thank you, Silva, for sharing this message. So with me, really, I'm coming in the aspects of human rights because these are fundamental freedoms that we should be enjoying everywhere around the world. So many of you may be asking yourselves, I've heard about it, but really I don't know exactly what human rights are. I know we also have dog rights out there, like Kim mentioned. I think Kim can just do this topic a justice when it comes to dog rights. So, but I'm going to be talking about your human rights. So what comes into your mind when you think of human rights? Human rights, I know this word has been thrown all over again, but do you have any definition? Just one word that comes into your mind when you think of human rights. You can put whatsoever comes into your mind in the chat box, and then I'll come back and check after the presentation, because really human rights are just the rights and the fundamental rights and freedoms that are inherent to all human beings, regardless of gender, nationality, place of residency, sex, ethnicity, religion, or even your skin color. Human rights are not just about the law. So human rights are non-discriminatory, meaning that all human beings are entitled to them, and you can never ever be excluded from your own human rights. Good people, you really don't have to see the whole staircase to get to the top, but you'll have to take the first step to get to the top. So as my mentor always say, that you don't have to be great to get started, but you'll have to get started to become great in life. So get started today. As my everyday book says, that learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, and plead the widow's cause. So learn to do good, seek justice, get started today, plead the widow's cause, and bring justice to the fatherless. To me, really, it was the death of George Floyd that made me to realize that we need to stand for a world where no one shall live in fear because of the color of their skin, and where the criminal justice system treats everyone fairly and equally. If you remember very well, May 25th last year, George Floyd died in police custody in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This 46-year-old Black man was arrested and killed after a convenience store employee called 911 on Floyd's suspicion of passing a counterfeit $20 bill. The video that was captured by a bystander, it shows George Floyd pinned face down on the ground and in handcuffs, and one of the Minneapolis officer pressing his knee against Floyd's neck as he was pleading for help. I can't breathe. And finally, he fell silent. May his soul rest in eternal peace. It is so impossible not to be outraged after watching that video of the Minneapolis officer pressing his knee against Floyd's neck for a period initially reported to be 8 minutes and 46 seconds. I believe that everyone has the right to life, and we are all born free. And no one should ever be subject to such unjustified violence. Hence, I am here today to educate everyone to know their human rights. Get to know your human rights, good people. Always seek passion. It's so funny how my mom and dad gave me this beautiful, beautiful name, Nompumelelo. And I know many people, trust me, they can't say my name right, but I usually respond to whatsoever name they call me. You know, Nompumelelo in my own language, it means mother of all success. So now you can see that I am really, really challenged to chase after success no matter what comes my way. If I may ask you, how many of you have dreams and goals that you want to achieve maybe in the next 6 months? I want you, as you think about your dreams and goals, to put this down. Rise to greater heights. Rise to greater heights, because you need to be clear about your career goals to gain guidance on professional development. As a mentor or as a coach, my goal really is to study your current situation, identify limiting beliefs and other potential obstacles that you might be facing, and then design a plan of inspired action to empower you to achieve specific outcomes in your life. It was Eleanor Roosevelt who once said that the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. So good people, you really don't have to be politically involved to know about your human rights. All human beings are entitled to them, and you can never ever be excluded from your own human rights. These are God-given fundamental rights and freedoms. As flight attendants always say that, put on your oxygen mask first before you assist others, because if you don't, you and the other person you're trying to help could possibly go down. So this is a wake-up call to get to know more about your human rights. This is a wake-up call, good people. But when that alarm clock goes off, please, please don't ever hit the snooze button. Don't be like, I will wake up in the next 2 minutes. I will wake up in the next 4 minutes. You know what? Forever is a long time. Why don't you wake up, get going, and know more about your human rights? You were born with these human rights and you will die with them. No one will ever take your human rights away from you. Remember that a right is a freedom of some kind. It doesn't matter where we were born or what kind of family we're born into. We all have the internal recognition of the moral quality of one's motives and actions. It was Nelson Mandela who once said, to deny people their human rights is to challenge their very humanity. And this message stirred something within me. I so wish that you can just tell yourself that, you know what, since these amazing speakers have shared some nuggets on how to rise to greater heights, Sylvia, she shared on accountability, Kim on relationship, and myself on human rights, you'll have to challenge yourself now. You'll have to go out there and make a difference. But in order for you to make that difference, it has to start with you. In order for you to make that difference, you'll have to have the hunger within you You've got to be hungry. You've got to be hungry like the hungry lion in the jungle. That hungry lion in the jungle, really, it doesn't matter what kind of animal comes his way. It doesn't matter if you're that giant elephant or that small squirrel by the jungle. All that hungry lion sees in front of his face is lunch. And it's so funny because even with elephants, when they say lion, what they do is that they run. It's all about the mindset. Once you believe, you become. They already told themselves that, you know what? I am a lunch to that lion. Each and every time when I say lion, I'll have to run. I believe that's the mindset that we need in order for us to make a difference to those who look at us as an inspiration in your community, in your life. You've got to be hungry. It's so funny, when I was in the 8th grade, I was nicknamed Phoenix. I was nicknamed Phoenix after writing a composition that says, using the idiomatic expression that says, I rose from the ashes like a phoenix bird, meaning I became successful again. And it's so funny, really, because that English teacher, she didn't know that the nickname Phoenix, it resonates with me. And it also aligns with my destiny. So for those of you who don't know the phoenix bird, the phoenix is a Greek mythological bird believed to rise from its own ashes after being buried like hundreds of years ago. This immortal creature, it acquires new life by rising from the ashes of its own ancestor, which represents our capacity for vision and success. So I want to encourage you, if you're watching and listening under my voice, that when your wealth comes crashing down, wear your scars to show how a phoenix feels like to die from inside, and trust in your own capability to rise from your own ashes, since the phoenix has to die first, burn, experience pain before resurrection from its own ashes. Please write this down in conclusion. Resilience to greatness. Resilience to greatness. If I can be honest with you, I don't know what goals you've set for the next 6 months. I don't know what dreams you have for your future, but here's one thing I know about you. You are destined for greatness. Inside of you, God has put seeds of excellence. Those seeds are supposed to grow and flourish. But many people have become crippled by their past encounters, and some have stepped over other people to get to the top. But I believe that God has a better plan for every one of us. Your objective is what you are designed for and the reason why you live today. With God, I believe that we are all destined for greatness as long as we follow his strategy. This is when the growth commences, because discovering your gift and following God's idea will make you understand that you are the only one who can accomplish your dreams. My everyday inspiration, Mr. Les Brown, he once said, if you had to die today, at this very moment, at this hour, what dreams, what ideas, what visions, what goals, what skills, what talents, and what books will die with you? And he also continued that the richest place on this planet is the cemetery, because that's where all the dreams, all the visions, all the goals, all the talents have been buried. Honestly, I don't know about you, but with me, listening to this message, it just gave me sleepless nights. And I am really, really proud today to introduce Rise to Greater Heights book before you. This is a comprehensive guide to turn your fears into greater success while seizing new opportunities. It is so significant, good people, to have a positive mindset, more especially in this COVID-19 pandemic. So I didn't stop there. I felt like, the whole world has to know about human rights. I know we are born with 30 universal human rights. These are God-given fundamental rights and freedoms that we should be enjoying everywhere in the world. It doesn't matter where we were born or what kind of family we were born into. We all have the moral quality to one's motives and actions. So I believe that we should be enjoying our human rights in this world. And you know what? I didn't stop there. I believe that we have to be resilient in everything that we do. We'll have to bounce back to life. So we came together, 15 different authors around the world, Australia, United Kingdom, South America, USA, Canada. We came together under one common goal: resilience to greatness. So I believe that this book has the potential to completely revolutionize every aspect of your life and career. And I also have a free transformation guide. It's available just for you, just for you. If you are listening today, watching this podcast, it's available for you for free. I believe that with the transformation guide, you'll be able to explore leadership, empowerment, being purpose-driven, mentorship, coaching, resilience to greatness, mental health, emotional intelligence, and many, many more topics, including spiritual growth. Because growing up, I didn't have much in life because my father decided to have an early departure from this planet Earth. But I had everything because of my mama's love. And I love you so much, Mom. So I think whosoever said that the sky is the limit was wrong. From today on, I, Nompumelelo, Riel, Gunene, believe that the sky is our point of view. So let's all rise to greater heights. Thank you. Thank you so, so much, amazing speakers. So at this moment, please feel free to share your final thoughts on how to really rise to greater heights. We've mentioned accountability, we've mentioned relationship. So just share your final thoughts, and also remember to share how our audience can reach out to you. If you have anything to offer our audience, please feel free to offer them and share your final thoughts and how they can be in touch with you. So Sylvia, you can go ahead, or Kim, anyone can just jump in.
I'll just go ahead. Mine will be short. One thing that you mentioned a couple of times there during your conversation, I just want to make sure that folks really get that final message about accountability. One of the things that I think about when I think about accountability is where it takes us, right? And we've talked about that a little bit today, and we we talk about it taking us to less stress, happier lives, but getting there is that journey. And I'll just spell it out again because it's very important to kind of get the sense of how you get there. So in order to get to that happy place, if we hold ourselves accountable, we start meeting our commitments, right? If we start meeting our commitments, whether it's here at home or in the workplace or wherever you go in the community, you start meeting your commitments. You start building trust. People start seeing that you do what you say, right? And when people start trusting you, we start building that glue. You create better communities, better relationships, better work environment, so that teamwork starts to build up. So it starts with accountability, leading into commitments. Your commitments lead to trust. And when you start building trust, relationships build on trust and teamwork. That leads to have more efficiency and less stress. And so once you have that, you end up having people who are happier, right? And we know that productive people are happy people. And I've also seen studies that show that happy people are productive people. So it can go both ways. But if you start with accountability, I think you'll end up being relatively happy, and those around you will as well. So that's my final message. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. I'm a project manager by profession and also a speaker. And again, as Riel said, I do find it fascinating. I find people fascinating. So I look to motivate people to try to get the best out of themselves, because I think we all have a lot more in us than what we think. So, Kim?
Sylvia, fantastic. So moving forward, if you are planning on getting a dog, if you already have a dog and it's kind of like a rocky relationship, what I'm going to suggest to you is just slow things down. All right. Really look at your expectations of the situation, and they might be a little bit too high, right? Or maybe we're just not giving our dog enough credit. Dogs are very simple animals. And when I say simple, they're kind of childlike. Everything, it's It's either A or B. It's black and white. It's very simple. Your dog has all the emotions that a human does. And I've seen some raptor smart dogs. Okay. They're stupid smart. So never think that your dog can't do something. And when you take the time to just really look at your dog as an individual, it really changes how you view them. It really changes the interactions that you have with them. And as Rael said earlier, when you really learn to hone that and you really learn to work with your dog rather than against them, everything opens up because now you can do more with them. And those amazing thoughts and situations that you created in your head when you first got your dog are now a reality. There's so much more possible. So I have a little special for you guys. I know during my talk, I talked about the 4 words, and I have a little document for you. If you'd like it, I'd love for you to have it. And it's a bit.ly link. So it's just bit.ly/ and then it's COM manifesto. It's the communication manifesto, but it's COM manifesto. And that's it. And I'm on Facebook, and you can find me there as well.
Wow. Wow. We have an accountability partner with Sylvia, and we have a dog lover who's gonna be able to walk you through how to build a relationship with your dog. So what's your excuse, good people? I hope if you're watching online right now, you're gonna reach out to these amazing ladies. And yes, you're gonna have a clear guidance under their training, or under their coaching, or under their, like, the relationship that you're going to build with these amazing speakers. So thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Kim, for joining us today at Rise to Greater Heights Network. So to our audience online, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today at Rise to Greater Heights Network, where you can turn your fears into greater success while seizing new opportunities. I hope with the message from these amazing speakers, you've been inspired, motivated, and ready to rise to greater heights. Please do join us next week at the same time, same place. Thank you. Merci. Siyabonga.
Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him sing. All they wanna say. Let him lay me traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him sing. All they wanna say. Let him lay me traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let I be me instead of playing games. For chasing fame, let somebody sweat the lack of flames. No, living my life to the fullest, and shout out my halala to the fullest. Let my lungs out. I'm still rising up to greater heights as long as